for the next one.
I'll run through we've got a very quick presentation today of just half a dozen or so slides. Very quickly, we're coming to talk to you about the shovel-ready projects that are all major cycleway routes that are funded through the shovel-ready funding. This follows on from a briefing we had on the 16th. And the routes that we are talking about in this report are South Express, Norwest Arc, particularly Section 3, Northern Line and Section 2 of Heathcote Expressway. And we are looking to give you some information regarding the challenges that we've got moving forward and how we're suggesting to move this forward. Shovel-ready applications, just a quick little bit of background and reminder, requested in April 2020, COVID lockdown, we had tight timelines for deliverables. We also had a very difficult environment of trying to gather information because we were all in lockdown. At the time, we, as an organisation, submitted applications for 5 projects, 2 MCRs, which in fact were Norwest Arc and South Express, and 3 roading projects. The 3 roading projects were declined, and we were requested to put in a bid for some more MCRs, which we put 3 more in. At the time, we only had time to use the information which we had, which was the information that we had, the budgets effectively that we had on budget in the LTP at that time. There was very little assessment done of that and very little detail in the risk assessments. And our interfaces with third parties, particularly Kiwi Rail, weren't fully understood at that stage. So just to remind you, we have agreements with Otakaro, Ropanga, that we need to adhere to in delivering these projects and invoicing the shovel-ready money. We've got to deliver as agreed. We have signed up and said we're responsible for all overruns and shortfalls, hence we have program level contingencies for each of the routes and the report we've just been through. So that's the process we go through. If we don't and we can't demonstrate that we have money on budget to cover any cost overruns, they do reserve the right to suspend funding, terminate the agreement, carry on with the works, recover the costs from there's all sorts of things they reserve the right for. So, but it's all there in the agreement and we have been through it before. We have, working through this, we are coming to you today with the fact that we cannot deliver these routes for the same amount of money that we had 3, 4, 5 years ago, had on budget. There are 3 main reasons. Site-based factors include the unforeseens that you often get around ground conditions. We are seeing more and more of that. We're often working through areas that have less and less stability underneath them. Utility company upgrades and changes to utility networks can and are continuing to cause us increased cost changes that will continue to increase into the future. And we're also seeing real challenges around the Kiwi Rail interfaces, and that's mainly around cost and time frame uncertainty. The longer something takes to build, the more it costs, which brings us to the last one, which is the inflation factors that we are seeing at the moment, which are unprecedented from what I've seen in the last 15 years at council. Most indices are putting this up around 15 to 19% between 2020 and 2023, so far above what we expected. There are legal implications if we don't complete the routes. We will have gaps in the network. We will potentially, if we don't do the work, leave some site hazards, particularly at some of the level crossings. And if they're left to complete at a later date, like we said, they just keep getting more and more, things just keep getting more and more expensive. So very briefly, these are the numbers that we're looking at against each of the crossings. Now, I just would like to highlight the Northern Line. At the time we bid this, we bid two parts to the Northern Line. One was to complete the Northern Line corridor works, and one was to complete a number of crossings. So that was, the crossings part was in addition to the MCR program. So there's a combination of those cost increases in the number for Northern Line. At the present time, none of this, we are not asking for any of this to be included. We are proposing that this is included as part of the 24-34 long-term plan. We will need to go and have a conversation with, how do we say it? Raupanga. I haven't practiced that one, sorry guys. We are getting all of the works and all of the routes and other projects, to be fair, that we've got on program and reviewed by an independent quality assessor. We're also doing some work with an independent rail expert. And the other thing that we have done and we've been doing up to this point and working very hard to try and get to this point is to give you as much certainty as we can around the risks. So we've been really clear around where there's risk and where there isn't. And that's between us and the contractors if we've got them locked in. We have looked at alternatives. We could ask for this additional funding as part of the annual plan process. We still think there's a level of confidence that's lacking around current forecasts, so we need to keep doing that work. We could cancel the remaining work once the existing budgets are exhausted. That is an option that is coming through, that is put there in the report. Again, that probably puts a bigger risk with Raupanga. So that's why we're suggesting we continue the discussions with the agency and, Raupanga, and we continue the discussions and we look to build it in as part of the long-term plan. So I've got another slide, and that's it for me. So that's why our proposal is that. Thank you.
Thanks so much for that. Just checking on 3.9 there, it's talking about no additional funding in this annual plan, and that there's enough budget to keep the projects going till we make the LTP decision.
Yep.
However, the Heathcote Expressway is due to be finished during financial year 24 over summer.
So the Heathcote Expressway, I should have highlighted in that presentation, there are still 2 or 3 sites we do want to talk to Raupanga about taking out of the scope. Yep. So the Heathcote Expressway, the additional funding for Heathcote Expressway is purely for the Scruttons Road crossing.
Okay. Yeah.
So we'd like to lift that out as a separate standalone project because we think it's going to be delayed with Kiwi Rail issues anyway. The rest of the route will be finished with the existing budget.
Yeah, and the crossing doesn't impact the actual cycle route itself. It's access to the cycle route because the cycle route goes past the railway line, not over it.
It's parallel to the crossing.
Yeah, that's great. So none of these, if we make the decision as staff recommendation today, none of the cycleway work will be deferred. No.
That will keep going. Yes.
Thanks.
Thank you. Just wanted to do a quick check on my reading and understanding of the South Express. There's a bullet point there referring to the Gilberthorpe's Waterloo Parker Moffat intersection, which is one of the problem intersections, naturally. Is that likely to be going ahead as is currently approved and scoped?
We're not in a position to advance that in the next financial year anyway. So it probably will require more money, but there's still design and interfacing with QRL that still needs to be done. And once we've done that, we should have a better idea of the cost, and that'll come into the LTP. And
presumably the briefing that our community board got just last week and is having a repeat of on Thursday for the community will be taken into consideration with that.
Yeah.
But that is not, it's not anticipated that we would progress that in FY24 anyway because of the challenges that we've got around design.
No, very good. Thank you for that. And I guess the other question I've got is around the Templeton section of that South Express up Waterloo Road, around Barters Road and through to Kirk Road. Time frame on that, is that 24 or is it beyond?
If we were in a position to do it in 24, it'd be right at the very end of financial year 24.
Yep.
So at this point, we haven't asked for extra money, but if we were in a position to tender it, I guess we could come back to council and say, are we ready to go?
Yep.
But yeah, I don't think, even best will in the world, I don't think we'd have boots on the ground
Very good.
in the next
Thank you.
financial year.
Thank you. Can I just clarify in relation to the Northern Line, please? So this is the works that we announced to the public just 2 weeks ago that we were doing this work, the cycle path beside the railway line and the crossings. And you indicated that it was in those two separate parts. So can I clarify, is it just the crossings that are now going to be held up? And can you continue with the cycle path bit itself?
We believe so. At this stage, yeah, we think we're going to be able to do the corridors, but
That was the corridors we thought we were going to do in June.
So that's
And
what I'm
Kiwi-
asking. Are we still
well-
doing the corridors in June?
No, we're
please?
not, because Kiwi Rail have pulled that.
No, but I understood that Kiwi Rail had pulled the part in
No.
relation to the crossings,
it.
but not the path itself.
yeah. So the corridors will be done, and the crossings won't.
Yeah.
Okay, so are we really?
To be absolutely
Are we
clear,
really
yeah,
clear about
the
that?
corridors are still going to advance, and the level crossing upgrades
Are not.
the three level crossing upgrades won't be done.
Thank you.
until later.
So Lynette,
Through the chair,
yep.
we just want to say that's the best of our knowledge, but it is not in our control entirely. It is a Kiwi Rail corridor that we are working on, and if they change their minds, we won't be working.
So what is their indication to us at this
They
particular
are indicating that it's all right to go.
okay, thank you, with one part of it, not the other. My next question is, have you communicated this latest information to our local community board? Whose area this is in? Or is this the first time that they're hearing it now?
What latest information? Sorry,
That this is no longer, the crossings are no longer going because we've publicised this information, and I know that it's been advertised on a number of social media pages from various people in the community board that this work was happening and people were delighted about it. So
Have we issued a start work notice? So we haven't issued a start work notice because we hadn't confirmed the corridor works. So we'll issue a start when we issue a start work notice, the community board will get a copy of it.
I think we're at odds here. The question I'm asking is, has this latest information now from Kiwi Rail that you're no longer going to be doing the crossings, has that information been communicated to the relevant community board?
I don't know.
No, we haven't.
No. Can I just note that, please, because this is the second time in the space of a couple of weeks that information isn't getting through to our community boards on really critical things, so just for the organisation. Thank you very much.
I got a wee small handful here. If we'd been more accurate way back in the day when we pulled them out of the drawer to go to the shovel-ready department, say it was $50 million more way back then, would they have given us more, and we wouldn't be in this bit of strife we're in now?
I haven't got a crystal ball.
Okay, no, that's fair enough. That's fair enough. Now, this, just reading between the lines, and I realise that the Heathcote one's practically finished. This 25 million. That's not set in concrete that might not get higher. Is that
We have advised you that because there are still risks around this.
okay? So out of all four of them, what was roughly the number of the whole four as a ball of wax before adding the 25 mil on? Roughly
70,
70?
78, wasn't it?
Yeah, I think so.
It was 70. We got $78 million of capital of shovel-ready funding.
Okay. Now, what else have I got? With the one from the tannery to the Valley Inn, that one that's happening, Heathcote Expressway, about 8 months ago, it increased by, I'll say, another 7 or 8 million.
Five and a half.
Oh, sorry, 5.5. Yeah. And that all came from spare money from other shovel-ready projects.
Came from contingency, like we've talked about previously. Yeah.
Okay, so just to get back to the roughly the 78 million that the shovel-ready money was, all of that, the only extra, the 25 mil, is ours to go. Okay, thank you.
Contingency hours.
Contingencies.
So the
are-
contingency's ours. Sorry,
That's
so the 10% contingency is council funded,
Yep.
and then the 25 will be council funded on top of that.
Yeah, just with those crossings, like along the Northern Line, can we just put the paths in next to the Northern Line, especially where there's already a goat track
That's what we're doing.
going through, and not even worry about the crossings?
We are putting we are putting the paths in, the corridor connections in.
Yeah.
We can't not worry about the crossings because they've been raised as a safety issue.
They're also part of our shovel-ready funding
Funding.
agreement.
But my question kind of is, people already cross the road there,
Yeah.
and they already cross the railway line there.
Yeah.
How does this change it?
Because it increases numbers. So there's a level crossing
It's
risk
a
assessment
percentage thing, so
process that
triggers it.
Yeah.
they do a level crossing risk assessment, and if they believe that the level of risk goes up, then certain interventions have to be put in place.
Okay,
But that's
makes
not
sense.
not doing the crossings is not holding up doing the corridors.
Yeah, which is good news.
Yeah.
Cool, thank you.
Oh, thank you. Look, sorry if I'm going over old ground. Is there any of this work in the 25 million area that could be delivered if you had the money?
So, like I said before, there's probably little bits of it that you might just be able to get onto the ground at the very end of financial year 24, but I think it's very unlikely.
No.
Most
is
of
that
it's
quick
most of
answer?
it's no,
No.
At the very end of FY24.
possibly.
But the resolution says that you want this as part of the 24-34 LTP. So,
Yes,
so
which will
delivery
be
won't be
25.
till
25.
25.
onwards.
Oh, okay. All right, thank you.
So just the Northern Line, we've already got a cycleway through here. So this is basically upgrading an existing cycleway.
No, it's not
It's extending
upgrading it. It's extending it along north of Tucker's Road.
Right. So maybe on, like, if you take Brockworth Place, like, there is a path along the railway corridor.
It's not that end of the corridor.
So you're putting it on the other side, or?
No, up
in Redwood.
Tucker's Road, up in Redwood, right up the other end.
Yeah, I mean, I've got the map from the consultation, and it's got Nando's Chicken and Riccarton Road.
So
No,
we're
no,
not. We're
you're
talking much further
the,
north.
The other end, up by Main North Road, up at
About
Sticks Mill.
4K.
So
Yeah,
there is
so
a section to go in there, but that won't be done for a year and a half at best.
You only find the
So the
takeaway
total
places and that's it.
budget, so that's not, so this budget isn't covering,
That's covering
Northern
that.
Line.
Sorry,
That
it is
section,
covering that
that's
end.
yeah.
it is covering that in. So what, like, I'm just trying to understand in terms of priorities. We've got, I appreciate it's not to the top standard, but we've got an off-road, separated from traffic, cycle lane, shared path. Why would we be spending, when we've got a budget shortfall, why would we be spending money
Sorry, where are you? I'm not
along
understanding.
between
because-
Blenheim and Riccarton Road?
Yep. So there has always been a plan. This network has always had a connection between Blenheim and Kilmarnock.
There's no connection there at the moment.
There is no connection there at the moment. There is a short connection from Brockworth Place out to Riccarton Road, which is a very short footpath,
And
the connection actually goes along the other side of the rail corridor anyway.
then it kicks away from the rail corridor and into local roads. So it doesn't even go the full distance. So the section that would be in a year and a half is from Kilmarnock down to Old Blenheim Road.
Right, and there's another section north around Papanui
Yeah, north
that
of
is along
Hackney.
the rail corridor, but
Yeah.
we're not proposing to do.
That's the bit we're proposing to do.
Is being done.
So we're upgrading that one as well.
No, we're not upgrading. It'll be a new shared path alongside the railway. So it'll extend the existing
Right.
bit so that eventually it'll meet all the way up to Main North Road.
So did we, like, given the success of the relatively low cost investment into Park Terrace, and I know we're in the middle of a trial, but for a kind of major benefit for a lot less cost, are we looking to apply that principle to any of the shovel-ready projects to save money?
We've looked at that and we've provided you advice on that in the memo that you've got back. So that's all been provided. And as staff, our assessment is we don't think there's viable options. We've looked at not just the viability of it, but how much work would need to be undone, stopped, or reversed in order to do that. So how far we are along the process. We've also had to look at what the drainage is in the area, whether there's deep dish channel. So there's been a whole lot of factors looked at. What we can say is that we will look at and ensure we look at options moving forward for all cycleway projects.
Right. And if we do the crossings later, I presume that means we have to do more traffic management, more procurement, more sort of. Is there going to be additional costs based on doing the intersections at a later date in terms of obviously not having the synergy with doing it at the same time?
Yes, potentially there will, but we don't have our control over that. So we are doing what we can do work on and getting what we can delivered for the community in the time frames, in the best time frame we can, and we don't have control over the rest of it.
Okay, and just I guess the final, just the costs associated to the cycleways. It just seems so much money. Like it's almost like we've become, I don't know, numb to the cost. Now I appreciate, we're in a difficult situation in terms of we go out for tender and people put things in, but are we doing any work just to look at the reasonability of the costs associated to the MCRs? Because the budgets are very extensive, and I just wondered whether we're kind of looking at how do we benchmark that we're getting value for money and good outcomes with the spend that we're doing.
So yes, we do that, and I would like to reinforce we're not numb to the cost.
Right.
They are big. These are very big, very complex projects where we do a huge amount of work. South Express is 15 kilometres long. Northern Line is extensive in length, but some of it's been done. When we probably pre-COVID, before we were in the sort of cycle of cost increases that we're in now, we benchmarked ourselves against the other major metros in the country that were delivering cycle projects. We were averaging something in the order of about $3 to $3.5 million a kilometre to deliver a cycleway project. If you're delivering a roading project at the same time, that was $4 to $4.5 million a kilometre to do a roading upgrade. Auckland at the time was costing about $4 million to $4.5 million a kilometre to deliver a cycling project. So we were doing that. Look, the costs have increased and they are looking at more like $4 odd million a kilometre to deliver now. Down here in Christchurch, Auckland is going up, Wellington is going up, everyone in the country is going up. So yes, we benchmark ourselves and we
Cool,
check
I think that's
what we're doing.
asked and answered. That's all
Thanks.
good. Okay, so I just want to check with the mover and the seconder, which is Pauline. I just wanted to add a wee bit into point 4. Yeah, they just bring it. Oh, sorry, it's on my screen, not yours. Oh. Yeah, it's not questions. The amendment is not questions. Literally, it just says. So just in that one saying, and I'm sure you guys will agree because it's just the open stuff. About final costs can be provided in an open LTP session to prioritise the transport budget.
Yeah.
Yeah. Everyone happy? Then it just.
So what is the difference between what we have?
Well, no, what it's saying is effectively that, there's obviously going to be challenges, like Yanni mentioned in the previous paper, around the transport budget we put on for the year. And just obviously the terms of the priorities, it may get to the point where we go, actually, there's something in there that we want to push back further. And I just think we should do that in the open. Well, you don't have to accept it if you don't want. I mean, I'm happy to just put it as an amendment, we can vote, but I just sort of do it in the open. But.
That implies that.
Okay, we'll just put it as an amendment.
Yep.
And if we vote
Implies
it
that
down, we
could
vote it
be.
down. But.
I'm just trying to understand sort of reason for that.
Yeah, no, it's fair. Yeah. No, we've had obviously criticism this annual plan around some of the stuff we, give guidance on privately. So I just think we should be really clear with big issues like this that we do it publicly. So.
Or how about something instead of just specifying that we're going to be open with cycleways stuff? How about we?
It's not so. It's the whole transport budget. Yeah.
Right?
We are. Yeah.
Yeah. So we could just note that we will be doing as
Well, no, well, I'm just going to put my, or maybe we just put it as my amendment, and then if it fails, it fails. But I would have thought everyone would be quite content with it. Okay, easy. Well, that might just mean we can move this on without having to. Yeah.
Going into the LTP.
Yeah. Okay, so that can actually, so Sarah and Pauline are happy just to add that in. Then we can avoid putting that separately. What's it called? Yanni.
Given that we've been able to use the surf projects to extend the scope of some of the other Cycleway projects and the craft projects, are we able to get advice on how we could possibly use the surf funds around offsetting some of these costs?
I don't know the answer, but Lynette might have a.
There's a very quick answer in that the surf was a bid for a set number of projects. The projects have been accepted, not the. We'd have to do a new bid next year.
So that
There's a new bid next year.
no.
If you were going to do something, it would be a new bid. If another fund came up,
Is there another round of funding for surf at the moment that we're
No.
aware of?
Not live. I mean, we expect there will be, but we don't know what
Yeah,
the
so there's
criteria for it will
nothing
be.
relevant to this here, is what we're saying. Tyler. Yeah.
Just a question on what does prioritise the transport budget actually mean?
Well, it
In a
means
long-term plan setting, I'm sort of not
Yeah.
sure.
what it means is we just have a public discussion on the priorities. So if we've got a budget of 140 mil for the year, and we're obviously going to have to put in this 25, do we take out more cycleways, add in roading renewals? Do we put in more in buses and the like? So it's just having an open conversation at the time so that every ratepayer in the city can see that discussion. Yeah. Cool. And that might mean we've got a compromise around the table. That means it goes through unanimously. Yeah. Okay, so we're going to move her in a seconder, bearing in mind it's 5-4 and we've still got other papers. Does anyone want to discuss this? We'll put that to the vote. All in favour? Against? That's carried. Thank you both very much. Okay, now we go into the fun ones and public excluded. So I'm happy to move. We go into public excluded. Tim's happy to second it. Any discussion? All in favour? Against? That's carried. Thank you. So we'll just wait for the live stream.